Hey Eric,
John,
how
how's
you
it
doing
going?
tonight?
Hmm, phantasmagorical.
Phantasmagorical. That starts with a P, not a F.
Uh, you know, I was running out of F words, so I was going with the alliteration.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Well, well, almost let's see. Pacific Standard Time, right? We're in daylight savings time now, and in a couple days we go back to standard time. Or is it the other way around?
Yes.
Okay. I had a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, so daylight savings time is currently, we go back to daylight
Standard time.
standard time, which is also
Spending time.
DST.
That's okay. That's
Pacific
okay.
time. Yeah, whatever. That's the math.
Yeah. So I'm actually happy about that because I'm going to be going down to Southern Oregon again this weekend, and that means that I will have an extra hour on the Sunday that I'm driving back.
Ah, nice.
So that'll be nice. I always like the day that you get the extra hour as opposed to the day in spring where you lose an hour.
Yes, it's always more painful waking up that first morning.
Yeah.
Um,
So, well, anything fun this weekend?
I think the big thing that my boy and I did, we've done this. I wouldn't say every year. We've missed a year here and there, but for the last several years, we've gone to the Oregon Meteorological Society Winter Weather Conference. They hosted it at OMSI, and all of the big newscasters, so the National Weather Service, all the channel, the local um, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox news channels come in, and they do presentations, and they have different people do presentations on what they believe, what they are forecasting for the winter, for this
Okay.
upcoming winter. And
Okay.
they go into a lot more detail and talk about what how they arrived at their forecast, the types of long range outlooks and events that they look at. Like, we're in a El Nino year, so that's the warmer sea surface temperatures than normal.
Okay.
As it swirls around up here in the Pacific Northwest, and so historically that leads to a warmer weather, a more mild winter, and most forecasts, according to this at this conference, we're going to get 3 inches of snow or less, like total for the entire snow season, which is December through February.
Okay.
And but they gave a bunch of caveats. The biggest one was we have had 8 straight years with measurable snow, which is a record in
Wow.
Portland. And so that's like, and last year was a record. So it was before that. I think it was 6 straight years was the previous record, and then we're now up to, if we get snow again, measurable snow, will be 9 straight years. So they're also asterisking with the odds here. They're going with Vegas on this one. There's a high probability that we'll get zero measurable snow because we've broken the record 2 years in a row. Do we really think we're going to break the record again? So this one was just more
That's not actually how probabilities work,
statistical.
though.
I know this was more like, yeah, statistically we're already abnormal. But so a mild winter this winter. So I guess I'll take it. We'll stick with rain.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so most predictions are two possible snow events, like one of 1 inch and one of 2.5 inches are most of the models they say, and that's going to be late December, early January, I think, if I remember right. So there you go. You
Eh,
got your winter
I think the
forecast.
I think the accuracy of those is, yeah, okay.
Well,
The-
that's exactly,
You know,
they forecast the weather, and they say there's an 80% chance of rain. And if it doesn't rain, you're like, hey, you said it was going to rain. I said, no, I said there was an 80% chance there was
eighty
going to be
percent
rain.
chance of, yeah.
I didn't
But
say there
what's
was going
the
to be rain for sure.
what are the error bars on whether or not it's going to snow in early January?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty high. No,
it's all good.
there was one. One chart was like 10%. I mean, all the percent chances for certain things happening were really that were like they classified as severe weather were like really low, like 5% chance a severe wind event, which is winds over 50 miles an hour. That all these different forecasts based on models that they
Yeah,
are building to predict in the weather. Anyways, it was fun. My
that's good.
boy
That's good.
loves going, and it's kind of fun to see the. Although we don't really watch the news anymore, my boy mostly watches YouTube clips of weather stuff. So we
Yeah.
don't really
Eh,
watch live television anymore.
I have the morning news on when I wake up, getting ready for work, kind of thing. So I hear the news occasionally, and the weather. So I get a little bit. That would be cool to.
Ah,
That would be cool. That
okay.
would be cool. Um,
How about you? How was
um,
your weekend?
I was trying to think of what I did on Saturday, other than I went with my son up for his orchestra practice. Um, but so two fun-ish things. So first of which is my wife was working. I think this was Sunday. She went down to the school and she was trying to figure out what she was going to do for the kids for a class for painting this week. And she's like, so I just went with her so that we, keep her company and have some time. And, and she's like, so you want to paint? And I was like, I don't know how to paint, but sure. Like, I'll do, you know, teach me as if I was a fifth grader. and, 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 um, ironically, she's like, "Oh, wait, I guess I'm not really actually telling you what to do with the kids. We've worked through like different skills over the course of like every week. There's a different skill that she tries to show them how to do, and I have like no clue. But it was fun. So I did a watercolor,
Okay.
um, and yeah, it was cool. It was basically like a lantern with kind of glowing with a branch, and I don't have a photo of it, but she should hopefully should take a photo of it. Anyway, so that was fun. I'm not the most artistic person in maybe even on the podcast. He says to the guy who I know painted a wall. But
I was going to bring
but
over my
that was
watercolor
fun.
that I painted with let's see if I can angle my computer so you can see it. Oh yeah. See the little moonlight with the tree in the moonlight. I'll go get it for you
Oh, there you
closer.
go. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I could see it. I just had to expand my window a little bit.
yeah.
Oh, that's
That's
fun.
that's my watercolor I did with a group.
Like a
My boy and a
paint night kind of thing.
yeah. It was canvas and basically it was uh we just did generative AI. You told it what you wanted a picture of, and then you had Gen AI create it on your computer, and then you painted it on the canvas.
Interesting. That's
So
kind of cool.
I picked something very simple:
That's
a
cool.
tree on a cliff in the moonlight.
There you go.
So
There you go. That's cool. That's awesome.
yeah,
So,
it was fun.
so that was the one thing, and that was fun. I had a good time with that, and then like the other thing that kind of drove me a little bit crazy this weekend was I was trying to fix an electric fence, and the the electric fence, like it was different rows of lines. There's like four lines on the fence, and they weren't connected to each other, but there was a charge on the other lines. And it was, in fact, it's still driving me a little crazy. So I've got a little tester here, and I'm like, okay, so that's not connected, that's not connected, that's not connected, that's connected. Okay, so connected, I've got like it's like 80, I think it's like 8,500 volts, but it was 8.5 is what the little thing measures.
Sure.
8.5 on the charger. I'm like, because I have this little little meter that I love that actually gives me a number. There's another thing that kind of like when it flashes, it gives like lights up some lights, and it's impossible to read. Anyway, doesn't really matter. So I'm like, oh, okay, so that's connected. Then it does not connect to the next line. But the next line is empty. Oh no, the next line has a very low level of charge, like 2 units, whatever. And I was like, but they're not connected. Test the other ones. All the other ones have a very low level of charge, which basically means there's a short. There's got to be a short somewhere. And so I walk the entire fence line, carefully looking at every single T-post, and there's no short anywhere. Like, nothing. They're not connected in any way. And I'm like, so that doesn't make any sense. So I basically like moving, exactly as I'm. Is it shorting through one of the, like the back side of one of the plastic standoffs from the metal T-posts? If one of those melts, then could the wire, I don't know. Like I'm just completely hypothesizing.
I don't know. I'm excited to know the answer.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything because you will be as frustrated as I. I do not know the answer. It is very frustrating to me.
Follow up next week.
At the end of the day, well, no, at the end of the day, I was like, well, if I tried, I disconnected from that one. I connected to another one, but then it still was like essentially shorting up to the previous thing that still hypothetically wasn't connected. Anyway, at the end of the day, what really mattered was that I have a high enough charge on all of the lines, and the solar charger, or it's not a solar charger, it's a battery charger. It's not driving that much fence. I mean, hypothetically, it'll drive like 11 miles of fence, and I've got like a half acre pasture. And so I connected everything up and tested everything so that it all had a good charge. And I was like, well, I guess I don't care, but I'm electrocuting some frogs or something like that via a short into the ground somewhere. It's one of those things that I'm like, I know. Okay, so wait, say that again.
So grab there. You got the metal posts, right?
Just go touch them all until you get zapped. Okay, yeah. That's not a bad idea. I mean, it would potentially work. In fact, okay, if I do that and get like. Anyway, so the thing is that this is just kind of funny and stupid, but like before I got this new tester that actually gives me numbers, I was so frustrated with the other little thing that I would totally test with the palm of my hand or the like,
yeah.
And after you do that a couple of times, like even though you know that it's only going to hurt for like a moment of time, you still like are kind of like leery of doing it, like
because it pulses, right? It's not a constant.
It's not a constant, zap,
but
right? it zaps you.
Oh yeah,
it zaps you good. It's not a little zap. So
no. It's to keep the horses in, right?
Exactly, and cows, and it's got to be strong enough that it is a disincentive. So,
right.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my frustration, my electrical mystery that I spent, I don't know, a chunk of time on, and because last weekend I weed-eated underneath this whole thing. That's what I like kind of killed my back doing, so that we could have this all done. And all this is because the fencing guy said, oh, he came out to give us an estimate. And he's like, and we're like, hey, when can you do it? And he's like, oh, January. And we're like, oh, this was 2 months ago. Yeah. So I'm like, dang it. I'm really glad that you're busy. I'm happy for your success. I just wish that you needed more business so that I could pay you money. Anyway.
Right.
It's all good. It's all good. But,
okay.
One day at a time. Mm-hmm. One day at a time. I did my last seed collection too. So if you want any flower seeds, I've got lots of flower seeds.
Oh,
But yeah, that's pretty cool.
awesome.
Yeah. All right. How
You got some
about
follow-up?
how about topics? Oh, I did throw one thing in follow up. Shoot, I didn't look at when we last talked about this, but I threw it in follow up because we talked about the Kaspersky 0 day. It was a sorry, it wasn't just a 0 day. It was a 0 click
Right.
iMessage hack that they had been sort of diagnosing, and this was a follow up that they posted last week that had a little bit about what they had to do to try and get the data to reverse in the first place. It was quite a long article, actually.
Yep.
But they had to go through a lot of hoops to try and get this because let's see, they saw the traffic on their Wi-Fi network that was running a SIM, so they could see the traffic. They for their it says their colleagues' devices. They could see the traffic. They could tell when it was infected, and then they did a bunch of stuff to try and capture that in the act. So they tried to set it up so that iMessage. Oh, sorry. One other thing before that. So they knew that there had been an iMessage received, and then like moments after that, there was a network connection out to a unknown server. It was backuprabbit.com. But but when they looked at the backup of the phone to try and find what had been downloaded, there was an empty directory, but no actual attachment for the file that had been sent to the iMessage. So they did a bunch of stuff to try and capture it in the act. They set up on a Mac. You can have iMessages go to a Mac. They set it up on a Mac to try and capture it in the act for the same attachment being sent both to the Mac and to the phone. They actually said they didn't know why they couldn't find it on the Mac, or they never saw it, even though they did see the infection happen on the phone again. So giving up on that, they went and tried to set up a man-in-the-middle proxy between the phone and iMessage, but that didn't work because Apple does cert pinning for its services. Although it turns out they realized later on that, and maybe Apple has or will fix this, but although Apple does cert pinning for the iMessages themselves for downloading the attachments, which go to a CDN, that is not cert pinned. Anyway, but they did a bunch of stuff to try and do that. They even figured out that once the malicious payload was running, it was actually running JavaScript, but and the man-in-the-middle proxy would work for between them and the C2 server, except that there was a second layer of encryption actually in the communication layer between the client and the C2 server, which is crazy. But so they actually did a man-in-the-middle proxy plugin and hard coded that was using good encryption, a public-private key pair, where the private key on the JavaScript client layer was not ever persisted anywhere. It was only in memory, and they didn't have the tools to be able to get memory while it was in memory. So they actually developed a man-in-the-middle proxy to sort of force the exchange that what gets sent to the server to be the key that they controlled. Anyway, all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff to try and figure out how this works. But anyway, this was kind of a follow up article for the thing we talked about a few weeks ago.
Cool.
Let's see. It said just the sort of the end of the article was our journey of investigating Operation Triangulation, that was their name for it, was quite lengthy. It took several months. Despite many ups and downs, we eventually managed to obtain all the stages used in this attack, including 4 zero-day exploits reported to Apple, 2 validators, an implant, and its modules. Along the way, we conducted a lot of research on iOS internals and came up with many interesting techniques, such as the one we used for extracting the iMessage attachment. The main difficulty we encountered during our research was to deal with the public key cryptography that was used in just about every stage of the infection chain. So that's the dealio. If you ever end-to-end encryption and good public-private key encryption is tricky. So anyway, the article is quite good. If you want to take a look at the rest of it, click the link.
Yeah.
Quite long.
Well, that segues quite nicely into my first article.
Okay.
So
what'd you do?
I think we actually talked about this a while ago in December. Apple is adding a new feature to iMessage called contact key verification. So, it's mostly designed for people who face, I'm quoting, air quoting, extraordinary digital threats such as journalists, human rights activists, government officials. It allows people to verify with the identity of the person they're corresponding to. Now, it's only available in Sonoma 14.2 and iOS 17.2. So the stuff that's still in beta, it's not actually released yet. So we can't set this up.
Okay.
But I was thinking we should try this when it comes out. When I first saw this article,
I'm totally game for that.
John and I should try this, see if we can check. Because what it does, and I'll read the quote here, iMessage contact key verification, users can choose to further verify that they are messaging only with the people they intend. Contact key verification uses key transparency to enable automatic verification that the iMessage key distribution service returns device keys that have been logged to a verifiable and auditable map. When a user enables contact key verification, they will be notified about any validation errors directly in iMessage's conversation transcripts and Apple ID settings. And so basically you will be notified if there's some man in the middle going on, which to the previous point, for that higher security, basically you can compare your contact verification code in person, on FaceTime or through some other secure call. So you can, actually set this all up in person, create that contact, save that public key, and turn on contact key verification with just that person. So all your other messages work fine. It's just when I talk to John over iMessage, I'll get a little extra saying no one's listening to this conversation. It's only going to John. John is the intended target, and it's not anyone else who happens to be also living in his house looking at his phone. Oh, wait.
Yeah, wait. Exactly.
Wait.
So, but hold on. So there's a number of things that I'm going to have to go read a lot more on this, because the what does it say? The verifiable and auditable map of what? I mean, that's in, and then the other thing it says, it saves a public key on your contact. So I could totally get where, somehow I need through a different sort of channel to get your public key. That's interesting to me.
Right.
That's definitely interesting to me. But okay, I'm totally game to try and set that up. That would be awesome.
All right. So,
That'd be awesome.
So that was the first one.
And I did upgrade to Sonoma this weekend, but it is 14.1. So once it's out of beta, I guess.
Yeah, I don't even have 14.1 yet. That'll be after we hang up. I'll kick off the update. Anyways, the second one has to do with ad blockers, and I actually stumbled across this one because I found something else that I was looking for. Right, so this is a uBlock Origin, which is an ad blocker, It gives some background about how ad blockers work, especially for YouTube ads. So,
Okay.
you're trying to watch a YouTube. I know you watch a lot of YouTube.
I do, and I have an ad blocker, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. So,
Cost me $9.99 a month for like YouTube, whatever, 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 and I don't see any ads. It's
so
pretty awesome.
anyways, so this is how it kind of gives some background on how this used to work. But these ad blockers most stopped working. YouTube is now starting to employ new anti ad block technology, and they're rolling it out slowly. So, um, this
Mm.
link kind of gives the background of how they work. Why some people are getting targeted. It's not just targeting ad blockers. It's if you use certain types of plugins that do certain things, extensions to your browser, you'll get flagged. If you use the Edge browser and you set the tracking protection to strict, I'm curious to see what they're going to do in Safari and how they're going to. So they're
Yeah,
slowly rolling out anti-ad blockers, which usually also ad blockers do a lot of privacy related things as well.
right.
So I would be curious to hear if and when your paid for ad blocker for
No,
YouTube
I'm sorry.
stops
That was
working.
a joke. The joke
Oh,
is that I pay YouTube $10 bucks a month, and I
oh,
see no ads.
ah, it's not an ad blocker. It's all right, I'll just give in and pay you
It's an
to,
ad removal service.
I missed that nuance. I
Sorry.
missed that nuance.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
well, now my end of my thing, the end of the article, because uh, I get a lot of YouTube ads. I mean, when I watch YouTube and I see these ads, and it's very annoying. I'm like,
Oh,
how do and I don't want to pay $10 a month to YouTube because I don't want YouTube. I just am annoyed by these ads. So I found this. So the same guy who wrote the article uh, on YouTube ad blocking kind of cat and mouse game that's going on and ramping up right now wrote a Safari extension that you can get for all your Apple devices that will remove in-video ads, prevent YouTube from tracking your play, pause, seek activities, restore the picture-in-picture functionality. Videos don't stop playing if you switch to another browser tab, and you can choose the audio-only stream to keep the music playing when Safari is in the background. So this is a Apple-specific and iPad, iPhone fix and Mac fix for Safari. It's $2 in the App Store. They don't do any tracking, and all that this thing does is it parses the HTML, and instead of whatever chaos that YouTube player has, pushed on people, it replaces it with just the simple HTML video tag, because you would think that's what YouTube would use. No. YouTube wrote all their own code to display the video so they can track, do ads, all that stuff, right? So this is kind of he says this is a follow-up to a Safari extension way back in the day when the YouTube player was written in Flash. You remember Flash?
oh, yes. Oh,
So a
yeah. Oh,
long
yeah.
time ago, it would replace the Flash YouTube player with the HTML video tag. And you had to do that in Safari because Apple never supported Flash. And
Right.
that was the only way to get YouTube videos on Apple devices. So, anyways, I have not bought it. I just stumbled across this, but I'm going to try this out. But that's why in his article, he's like, so I am paying close attention to this because I have a vested personal interest in seeing what happens with this new ramping up of anti-ad blocking in YouTube to see if it messes up
Wow.
his stuff. So,
Okay.
anywho,
Okay.
if you don't want to pay $10 a month, you can pay $2 one-time fee, which is what I am probably going to do.
But then you don't use the YouTube app. You use a browser to watch
Yeah,
videos.
you
Yeah.
don't use the YouTube app. I'm always in the browser.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Um,
We'll see.
I'm pretty good with how things go at the moment. I do not. I enjoy not seeing ads.
Okay.
My only struggle is when, the streaming services realize, oh crap, you know, people are actually worth more than what their subscription is, and want us to pay and receive ads. So
Well, most streaming services do that. They have a tiers, right? And they're slowly getting away with the tiers. Like Hulu does that. You can get Hulu with ads for one fee or Hulu without ads for extra.
oh yeah, I pay the extra.
And I'm pretty sure they're just going to slowly do away with the extra, and it'll just be you get
I
ads
this You're
no matter what.
exactly enumerating my concern. Yes. So, oh yeah, I don't subscribe to cable because I have the over the air, but I sure have a lot of streaming video services that I don't watch.
Yeah, I need to pare those down. I was teasing my daughter because she knows, and she was kind of half joking as we say it, but she was like, what if there would just be one place we could go to get all the different channels instead of having to subscribe to all these different, like we were already
Right?
there. We
That's
did
where we
that. It's
were.
called cable. Everybody hated it, and now this is what we get. Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it.
Exactly. Well, the bundle will be together. It'll only be $499.
Yeah, I think to get all the channels people normally get, it's about the same price as cable was. It's just now delivered
Exactly.
over a
Exactly.
different medium. To be fair, though, it is nice to be able to not have I, you can pick and choose.
Exactly.
Like Disney Plus. I'm like, do I really want to keep Disney Plus? Because they're almost doubling their price on me for an annual subscription. So
You should look at, I think what I did for Disney was it's Disney, Hulu, and ESPN all
ESPN,
together. Yeah, for like $120 or something like that.
yeah.
They're probably raising that price.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited about that. Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, one of my articles was basically the follow up. My second article is security adjacent, and security, at least in our world, for AI.
Okay.
So, this article is generative AI is all the rage, or
Oh, I did see this.
the how can we basically, I'm just going to use the word pollute the internet, not that you could tell, with AI generated content fragments, let's say, that help increase engagement. And so one of this is I don't know, you look at the bottom of lots of these sites and you might also like XYZ, or there's things on
Exactly.
the side that are, you know,
Take a
engagement.
poll. Yeah.
And it's take a poll. It's an AI generated poll next to news articles. So this is a news article of a poor woman who died with head injuries, and AI clearly read the article and generated a poll based on how, essentially what do you think was the reason? And completely out of like no taste, right? I mean, like the AI is generating, based on the content of the article,
Uh-huh.
and guardrails for it's not quite morals, like appropriateness, I guess, is are not there.
Right.
And clearly no human is involved in reading all this stuff, because if a human if we wanted it done at human scales, it would cost a ton more money. The whole point is that it costs basically nothing to have an AI, quote unquote, read an article, parse an article, and generate something about it.
Right.
So this was a Guardian story where the Microsoft's news aggregation service, published the automated poll next to it. So the Guardian, clearly wrote a strongly worded, let's say, I think this is largely a letter to Microsoft about the significant reputational damage, that's in quotes,
Right.
to the organization, as well as damaging the reputation of the journalists who wrote the story, and that, clearly distressing for the woman's family as well. And so here's a couple quotes. This is clearly an inappropriate use of Gen AI by Microsoft on a potentially distressing public interest story, originally written and published by Guardian journalists. It demonstrates, quote, the important role that a strong copyright framework plays in enabling publishers to be able to negotiate the terms on which our journalism is used. Interesting language there.
Mm-hmm.
And then asking for assurances that, quote, Microsoft will not apply experimental AI technology on or alongside Guardian journalism without the news publisher's approval. Now, I have to assume that the news publishers approved of what was going on there, at least as far as the experimental nature of that, especially since there was some probably data-based, engagement metric that, line went up.
Yeah.
And that Microsoft will always make it clear. Now, this is a request. This isn't what Microsoft said they would do. That Microsoft will always make it clear to users when AI tools are used to create additional units and features next to trusted news brands like The Guardian. Also, Microsoft said there was a strong case for Microsoft adding a note to the article taking responsibility for the poll. I don't know what happened with that, but Microsoft did respond. The quote was, we have deactivated Microsoft-generated polls for all news articles, and we are investigating the cause of the inappropriate content. A poll should not have appeared alongside an article of this nature, and we are taking steps to prevent this kind of error from reoccurring in the future.
Yeah, what else are you going to say if you're Microsoft? So this is...
Not much, but yeah.
I don't know if you saw, so the White House published a framework for AI companies and how responsible ethical AI. And one of their bullet points that they're pushing is any AI generated content must be tagged visibly as generated by AI. So part of what this Guardian is asking for, which will be interesting to see if people look at that. It sounds like a nutrition label, or the California, this is prop whatever it was, this has been found to cause cancer in laboratory rats. That's on everything that every product you sell in California now has that on it. So is this just going to be another? This is generated by, and then the second half of that is, are news organizations or even other organizations less newsworthy and more, I don't want to say, they're more, we only publish content because we want to get ad revenue of displaying ads to you, so
there's a lot of that.
They're all generating weird, dumb stories that are not even real, I'm assuming, using Gen AI.
Yep.
Are they going to have to start flagging that as, hey, this article that you are clicking next on, because for some reason you want to know what happened to, whatever it was, so that you can display new ads. Is it going to flag Gen AI?
Like, unless it
What are the
becomes
penalties?
mandatory, like,
Yeah.
so long as that is a recommendation, then like a few places will do it. I'm sure the New York
Yeah.
Times will do it. I'm sure the Washington Post will do it. I'm sure, kind of the big
Right.
seven might. But, like, Taboola or
Yeah. All
whatever
those, whatever
those
those.
things are at the bottom of all the sites, yeah,
Right.
like, no, they're
Yeah.
like their whole goal in life is to collect some of that, ad revenue,
Ad revenue.
which by some measures, I swear, it's been a couple of years since I read that, but like, wasn't there a research that showed like as much as 50% of that winds up being fraud,
Yeah.
just from
Yeah.
like it's ridiculous,
Yeah.
ridiculously
Yeah.
people. Okay,
All right.
all right, got me all spun up.
Sorry.
Okay, how about something fun?
So my fun. So, um, I, as you know, enjoy a tasty cola beverage.
Yes,
Coke
yes.
Zero is my poison of choice. Um,
I like Diet Coke.
I have been over the last several years. Coke has been releasing experimental flavors, and my daughter and I get them, and then we like to judge them and try to figure out what the flavor actually is, because
Okay.
they're these weird flavors. And there's now a new Y3000 futuristic flavored Coke that was co-created with artificial intelligence. So this new flavor of
Okay.
Coke.
Did you try it?
Oh yeah, I
Have
bought a 12, the little mini 12 pack or 10 pack, whatever the little mini ones.
okay.
That I've only been able to find these weird flavors really at Walmart of all places.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that's the only place around that they're not in the Safeway or like gas stations. Gas stations will occasionally have the 16-ounce bottles. One of our
Weird.
lunch spots, Roxy's, will have it occasionally.
Oh, okay.
One of those flavors. So the flavors they've had is, so this Y3000 is living in the year 3000. This flavor is co-created with artificial intelligence, and I don't know how to explain the flavor. And so some of the other flavors they've done, Move is transportation flavored.
That doesn't sound good.
Uh,
Like,
I
like
think I
what
remember
is
thinking that was
like
good.
grease, sweat? Like what?
I
Like move,
no Move.
oil,
I,
gas? I don't understand.
Dream World, dream flavored. So I have that one. That one actually kind of has
I
a pineapple coconut
think I
taste.
tried that. It tastes like
Yeah,
marshmallows or something.
yeah, something
Oh,
like that.
maybe it was something else.
And then there was Starlight, which was
Oh.
space flavored. That one was gross. I will just tell you. I did not like that one. And there was Bite
Okay.
Pixel flavor. Anyways, there's a bunch of different ones that they do. So I just we got some of this over the weekend. We tried the new Y3000. It's okay. Um, what I usually do is I get those little tiny cans, the little minis size, and then I mix
And
it
then
in with a
split it.
12-ounce can to kind of dilute the flavor a little bit. But
Oh,
it's good. So, anyways, that's my something fun. Go try the Coke Creations if you enjoy a
okay.
caffeinated beverage
Okay.
of the Coke variety. They're
I
fun.
was
It's
I
just
was
something fun to do.
joking. I was joking with you the other day, or I said this to you the other day that I like the first couple sips out of a super
Yeah,
cold can of Coke are just the best.
it's the
So
muffin top of cola
exactly
beverages.
like.
That was a great analogy. I like that.
I'll just take the first two sips and then like somebody else can drink the rest of it.
That's right.
You know, it's now warm Diet Coke. Anyway, okay. All right.
All right.
Okay, so my something fun is actually my fourth. I went back and looked up for this one follow up for the
Follow-up
CRISPR
fun.
treatment
Yeah.
of sickle cell disease. So I went back. I the first reference for this, at least within our RSS feed, is in episode 102 in November of 2019. So 4 years ago.
Wow.
We followed up in December of 2020 with the first thing, and then there was another one in June of 2022. But so the news with this treatment today is that it is up for FDA approval, and a decision is due by December 8th. So the committee, there's like evidently a recommendations committee that recommends whether or not the FDA should
Right.
accept it, and the committee recommended that they do. And it says that now the FDA must rule on the treatment by December 8th, and following this week's meeting, the agency appears likely to approve it, according to the New York Times' Gina Colada.
Nice.
So it says, so this is, assuming if it does get approved, it would become the first FDA-approved treatment to employ CRISPR. And then there's a little bit more about sickle cell. In particular, more than 100,000 people in the U.S. and more than 20 million people worldwide have it. And currently the only cure is a bone marrow transplant. But let's see, this thing was that, so it's been a while since we talked about this, but they basically, the treatment now has a name called Exa-cel, but you take your own cells, edit them with CRISPR, so they produce a form of hemoglobin that restores normal red blood cell function. And then you have transfusions back in with your own edited blood cells. And then, but it says in an ongoing study, 29 of 30 patients who received the treatment did not experience any severe pain crises for 12 months afterwards. On average, the patients had more than 4 such crises per year prior to treatment. So,
wow.
At least from a efficacy standpoint, very high. The main concern is cost.
Right.
So, there's a quote at the end of the article. It says, "I'm worried that this will be a highly lauded technology that people will not be able to use," said Melissa Creary, who studies sickle cell at the University of Michigan. "I think the people who need this therapy the most will not be able to afford it." So
yeah,
that's certainly the, how will that happen?
yeah. Well, that's cool.
How will it work through insurance and stuff like that? I didn't pull it out, but I thought there was a notion here that it could cost as much as $2 million per person. But at the end of the day, I've been following this for the purposes of CRISPR and the sort of amazing possibilities that the CRISPR and Cas9 technology enables for snipping genes.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. Fourth follow-up on that. We'll see what happens in December.
Very nice. Thanks, John.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good rest of your evening, and I will talk to you later.
Yeah, have a good one, John. Bye.